Welcome, everybody, to the Peaceful Hugs podcast. I'm Mark, along with Lorelei. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Again, we are, we're at the halfway point. Like we started, the first podcast that we did was talk about what we were doing and why we were doing it. Now I think it's a good opportunity, one, to talk about the guests that we've had on up to this point.
Yeah.
And two, we both have had trips outside of the country that, well, in my case, was very life-changing, and I can't wait. I've already heard quite a bit about what happened in Uganda, and so that's what we'll be talking about is our guests and our trip and, what the next half of the season looks like. It's good to be back in Denver.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You've been jet-setting around.
I have jet-setted everywhere, between, constantly going back between Florida, Michigan, and Denver, and then to go to Spain and Portugal was a big deal. And now come back and I'm right back to, I was in Florida, now back here in Colorado, which hopefully it's a little cloudy today, but it's so beautiful here. And then I'm off to Michigan.
Yeah.
Right after we shoot this. So, but yeah, like I think, we can start about, how long were you in Uganda for how long?
Only about 2 weeks.
2 weeks you were there. And was that primarily to see how things were going in with Unbridled Acts there?
Yeah. So we have a program called Mazizi, which is Swahili for rooted out there. And we basically help impoverished women and families kind of find stability. And so that looks like housing support, practical financial support, training and mentorship and discipleship. And we're primarily centered in the village, a village in Jinja, and then just right outside of Jinja and Kayunga. And so we've got a home that's like a community home with like over 34 people that live in it when the kiddos are home from boarding school. And then we've got a community center in Kayunga that serves the village out there. And so we try and get out there at least once a year, at least for me, to visit, see how everything's doing, be able to provide additional like training support while we're out there. But this year we were able to actually bring 2 employees of our for-profits partners to come on the ground as kind of like a pilot service trip opportunity. So we have a program in Costa Rica that we've been doing service trips with multiple employees from our for-profit partners for years with, but this was our first time doing it to Uganda. And so it was a really good test. Our 2 teammates had been with us to Costa Rica before, so they kind of knew what it looked like to serve alongside Unbridled Acts and be on the ground and understood our mission. And so it was really beautiful for them to get to see a whole new side of our program in Uganda, having heard about it for so many years. And then one of them is actually he works for Unbridled Media, so he's a videographer, so he got a bunch of amazing content while we were there, got to kind of share the testimonies of some of the kids we've been serving for 14 years, so we've watched them grow up.
Wow.
And now they're serving as staff for Mazizi, so we have true like national Ugandans that are serving other Ugandans now.
Wow.
Which is really beautiful. And so, yeah, it was like a great chance. I mean, this was my 3rd time going to Uganda, and so the relationships formed just continue to grow. I touch base with them while I'm on the ground stateside, but it's so much better when you get to see them. Yeah.
Well, I can't, it's one thing to go to where I was out in the middle of Spain in this itty bitty town, but still, it's not like
Third world.
third world, huge difference. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about it, but I mean, what was it? Was it like your first time going there? And then when you take now these 2 employees with you there, is it shocking to the system to go there and see, we do that mission in Malawi with Pomosa, and I hear from people that have gone there, and I'm assuming very similar, like they're really caught off guard about how different it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's poverty is just very real. And that's not to say that there isn't poverty in the US, but our poverty does look different. Yes, there's homeless, there's people who don't have shelter, but there are people in poverty that have a roof over their head too. It just looks different here. Whereas there, it's like mud huts, mud floors, you know, kiddos who have maybe 3 or 4 outfits, if that, walk around barefoot. Um, yeah, it's like it's very different, and so you fly into Entebbe usually, and that's like a built out city. There's a lot more businesses there. It looks a little bit more Western. It has, newly paved roads, and main highways that are still being paved all the way through the country. But then, you get out into the villages and it's truly village life. Like, there are huts and people are tilling the ground and living off of the land and, serving their communities however they can. They are trekking water from wells, like, there's not clean water, so their life is very much, um, you know, parasites are a normal thing to deal with. Malaria is very regular, and thank goodness there's, like, proper medication in a lot of stations and ministries that serve, different villages with malaria care, but that's very normal. Foodborne illnesses, unclean water illnesses, like, all of that's very normal. And then I left, and a day after we left, this past trip, the Ebola breakout happened. So there's now Ebola there, another breakout that's happening. So it's just, they have a lot more stress on their bodies in a way um, that a lot of, like,
We don't have.
more developed countries just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it must be it's certain I mean, obviously, it's rewarding here, or we wouldn't do the work that we do here, but I would think different. I often get asked, "Why do there's enough so much you can do here in the States, Mark.
Mm.
Why do you do what you do in partnering with Pomosa and try to help in, Malawi?" And I'm assuming you hear the same thing in Uganda, but there's just a dollar
Oh
goes
my
so much.
gosh.
It's not even. It's really hard to explain to people what a dollar
Can
can do
do.
there, let alone
Yeah.
$100.
Absolutely, and I think, I mean, the unique part of Unbridled Acts and that we're blessed to have the opportunity to do is that, when we feel like we have partnership and a vision from the Lord for something, we're going to extend our arms as far as we can for it. And so, um, Mazizi the program was founded by Stan's sister, and so she is really like the heartbeat behind it. She, and Stan lived in different African countries growing up, and so, she's always had a heart for Africa, and so she is really the lifeblood behind all of our connections there. All the families that we serve there are through her. They call her mama. Like,
Wow.
it is very, much a beautiful relationship that she's formed with these people, and all just because she wants them to find what stability looks like for them. It's not a Western stability, it's what it
Right.
looks like for them, right?
Are you guys seeing where they're to some extent they get self-sustainable too?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the goal is always to kind of discover a way for them to not be dependent on Mizizi, the program and the organization, but for them to discover what, like, solvency looks like for them. And so, I would say we're really starting to see the next generation of kiddos that we've been able to help through school and are graduating now from university discover what it looks like to, like, have a heart to give back for their communities and figure out what adulthood looks like in a way that is sustainable. Yeah.
Because so much of the political unrest there, I'm sure, affects them too.
Well, and people forget, like, Uganda is, like, 40 years fresh from a civil war. Like, the reason they're still, like, third world is a lot of just, like, infrastructure redevelopment from just the devastation that the war caused. And, there are people my age who were child soldiers, like, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it is culturally.
Well, mentally, they gotta get
Oh my
past
gosh,
that.
well, and, like, like, talk about trauma bonding of an entire culture and community of people, no matter what village you were in, like, that there's so much trauma that is you're just trying to suss through in your own body, let alone just surviving day to day in a
Right.
developing country. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's neat if you're seeing these kids grow up in the program too, what they can do, right?
Oh,
Because we
yeah.
heard when we interviewed Tamra on our show, the people that run their programs now were in there.
Yeah.
their programs.
Yeah, well, and that's what's beautiful, like, I think of, people who we've seen, we scholarshiped through school, we formed relationships with, and now instead of, going and finding a job elsewhere, which they're absolutely more than welcome to, they want to serve Mazizi, and so they get, a job with us to serve their community because they just have such a big heart for give back, and I would say that that's true for probably most African countries, but Ugandans are some of the most, like, generous individuals. They're so kind, and hardworking, and I would say their contentment is beautiful because they don't you would never know that they don't have access to the things they don't have access to, like, they just and it's not even that they don't know that they don't have it, it's that they're not complaining about it.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
they don't miss it.
No, they just wanna love people and discover what health looks like for them.
It's funny you say that because even, where I was at, because it wasn't the major metropolitan cities, although I visited them, just this
Yeah,
alone, and it's certainly not a third world country like Malawi, no one was on it.
right.
Like, they're with their families, they're with their friends, they're not looking at, their social media all the time
Absolutely.
and what their standing is in that area,
Yeah.
and it's refreshing to a degree.
Yeah, and I think they have an advantage in that way, like, there's a real opportunity for, like, actual community uplifting like, being uplifted together rather than individualized, just because they're actually present with each other, in a way that maybe we're not seeing that as much because of, technology and all of the,
All the changes.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the program you think will continue to grow there?
Yeah, I think we're really on the cusp of really seeing it bloom, and so we're in the process of starting some pretty significant fundraising campaigns for our new homeschool program as well as our scholarship program, to really invite new people into it. Um, and so I would say we're definitely and we've got just the right people in the right places. So many of our Ugandan nationals that are now serving alongside us and staffed with us are gonna, I think, make huge changes in their immediate communities in Jinja and Kayunga. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, and it's got the cost difference to send them to school is so much cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think schooling is interesting in Uganda. The majority of them are boarding schools, and so the kids go away for the weekend, maybe come back for the weekend, but majority, it's like you come back once a quarter. And so we're also just trying to figure out what does it look like for family to be family in Uganda, and to not reject Ugandan curriculum altogether, but Ugandan curriculum in the boarding schools is primarily just like being sat down, and the teacher stands up and reads from a book, and you take notes as fast as you can, and you memorize the content. And so it's not
Oh,
true
wow.
learning and interactive learning. And so there's also lots of pushes from a variety of, government support and local nonprofits to really push for like proper curriculums to teach kids how to think for themselves, and then how to engage the family in education too. Like, right, you don't go away from family and memorize things and then come home. That's not
Just doesn't work that way.
no, and it doesn't compute to like an innovative society, right? That they're hoping for.
Well, and
So
that's a big cultural change too
absolutely.
from a school perspective.
Yeah, and family, I mean, they have struggles with fatherlessness there, and so I think the hope is to care for the younger generation of men, to understand what family means, how important it is, so that the next generation can hopefully kind of find ways to stay together. Um, and I think that changes a community and a country as well. So,
What happens to you? Because I know what happens to me. What happens to you when you go there and then you come back here?
oh,
Because usually it could be mixed emotions, but certainly I've heard from a lot of people, and I experienced it when I was in the jungle in Costa Rica doing the work, and um, you either feel mad,
mhm,
angry when you get back
yeah,
here because people don't realize what we have,
yeah,
or um, uh, if you're not angry, you have this overwhelming um, you almost feel bad
Right.
about yourself because of everything you do have
Yeah.
that they don't have.
Absolutely. I think it's an amalgamation of all of those things, right? Like there's so much um gratitude for the reality of the privilege that I have living and being raised in America. Um, but then also just like the devastation of reality that they don't have access to certain things. And then the frustration with our current society not realizing what we do have, and
Yep.
how privileged we are. And the way that we complain about certain things.
Yeah.
And then there's also just like every time you go abroad for something like this, a part of you changes. And so I think you kind of have to relearn every time you come back, like, I've kind of been molded in a new way. So how do I fit into back into the culture that
That definitely happens. I become a better person every time that I get rid of a piece of the personality that I
yeah.
didn't like to
Hmm.
some extent, and certainly happened this last time.
Yeah. Yeah. So um I think that's really why part of why you do it is that it's not it's not us as Westerners or wealthy individuals going over there to make change and impact people because we have all the things and they have nothing. It's actually that, like, I am more impacted, I feel like, half the time than the people I went to serve
Yep,
are because
for sure.
I learn new things, I grow as an individual, I shed selfishness and materialism and all of those things in a way that is really beneficial for me even more than it is like, I hope that what I left them is half as good as what they gave me, you know?
Exactly. No, that's exactly
Yeah.
how you feel. I come back every single time thinking, "God, I got way more out of that than I gave," and I almost feel guilty.
Yeah, but that's humanity, right? Like, I think that's why it's so beautiful, the intergenerational connection that we have, the cross-cultural relationships we get to have when we travel is that is the beauty of humanity is the sharing, ebbing and flowing, like, I benefit from you, you benefit from me. Like, when we isolate ourselves and we don't experience that, I think that's when we lose the plot.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we don't do enough of that in this country to get young people out. I'll speak as, 59-year-old guy, like, I wish and I encourage my kids now, like, you gotta travel, you gotta go do
Yeah.
mission trips, you gotta and they have, but the more you do, uh, the more well-rounded you certainly become, and
Mhm.
you certainly don't take things for granted.
Absolutely, and even I mean, even traveling within the US, like, is a
Yes.
plethora of cultures here. Like,
Yes.
no state is the same, no community within each state is the same, and you can really be impacted positively and be a good impact on others when you get outside of your own little bubble. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad the trip was successful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go.
I know.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, I would love that.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And Temma wants me to go to Malawi, and I'm like,
I know, there's so many things. Well, and so your trip, like, I wanna hear I mean, you
boy.
were jet set, like, you were around in so many different spots. How many countries were you in
Well,
also?
I was this time I was only in 2 countries, but I was,
Okay.
predominantly in one spot
Okay.
in the middle of Spain, but I did go I was in Madrid, I was in Leon, Palencia, these little towns, and then my trip ended up in, Portugal,
Portugal.
which a piece of that which I can talk about was I wanted to do since I was 6. It
Yeah.
was a more of a spiritual trip for me, but I can't remember. I know I've told you, I don't think we've told the listeners, like, I had been trying to do this trip for 3 years,
Mhm.
and I was told up until last August, "There's just your timing's bad, we don't have room," and so for me, and I know all of our listeners are not necessarily spiritual or Christian people, but for me being one, as as all of our listeners know, last August, my relationship breaks up. I am, unequivocally a mess.
Mhm.
Um, and anyone that knew me knew I was a mess. And so I'm trying to figure out just how I'm going to pick up the pieces of having lost somebody that still love very much.
Of course.
Now you don't wish bad on anybody. And this guy calls me who was new to the program out of no, he actually emails me first out of nowhere and basically I'm paraphrasing. For some reason, I know we told you we didn't have room for you, but God put on my heart, we're supposed to make room for you.
Mm.
And it literally changed my way of thinking just from the standpoint of I had something to look forward to, because here's something that I had my whole life in my head planned with this person, and it's all gone.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I did was trying to plan for us
Mm.
and our mutual kids in my head. A lot of it I didn't share. And now it's all gone. Like now, what am I, at least that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And here's this lifeline. So it kept me going until I was able to go. I left April 30th. And I can't even begin to tell you how life-changing it was for me. So not only did it keep me going, and I developed a tremendous friendship with several people there, particularly Matt, Father Matt, he's a priest, but Matt. Um, we met, served just under 1,000 people,
Mhm.
3 weeks from 36 different countries.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But what was, you realize, I think everybody should, I don't know how if everybody could get in that room, because at 5 o'clock, we greeted people who had just walked. In our case, they mostly started in France, and they were at this halfway point. This is a 30-day trek. And I was told, hey, Mark, look, these are not all Christian people. They're not even faith-based, some of them. But most of them are all going through what you're going through, if not worse.
Mm.
And would be a good person to help talk through that with people. And I do think that that was the case. But being a cynic, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we'll see. In the very first, they called it a cafe of people, and we would have up to 50 people a day.
Mhm.
Was from 6 different countries. Not everybody spoke English. And I'll never forget, there wasn't one that I was in where there were not a tremendous amount of tears.
Mm.
Because I think the one that our viewers would get the most was, not that I thought my issue was any better than anybody else's, but it's what's important to you and near to your heart is near to your heart at the time.
Yeah.
So I got to the point where I was running could run these cafes now. And we had translators in there. And so I had people from, in that one, 5 different countries. And you always start yourself as the moderator with, why are you here?
Yeah.
And so I tell my story, was getting married and how devastating. And, I got tears in my eyes. And then you go around the room. The second lady's like, I just lost my husband of
Mm.
40 years. And she's teary-eyed.
Mhm.
And this is why I'm on this journey trying to find what's my life without this man that I loved.
Mm.
The next guy was from Denmark. Like, I remember the countries they were from. And he's like, he pulls out his wedding ring that he was going to give to his fiance, and he had called off his wedding because she, just wasn't truthful to him. We'll leave it kind of like me. And he was walking to clear his head to figure out what he was going to do with this woman that he loved, and he's in his 30s.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I should know better. I'm, 59. And he was going to throw, people typically bring something, in some cases, ashes of a loved one,
Wow.
in his case, the wedding ring, and they discard them at the end of the journey to say to whoever, in a lot of cases to God, it's yours now. And that certainly happened for me. I had brought something with me. But as we're going around the room, the stories you start realizing my thing
Yeah.
is not really a thing. And the last person we got to, they're like, we just lost our 31-year-old son to an accidental shooting.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
having kids, let alone anybody's kids, by that time there already wasn't a dry eye because we had experienced everybody's loss in some cases. And you just realize, in every single one that I did over 3 weeks, every single one had tears in it. And every single one had people that didn't speak English or Spanish. and every single one were a lot of hugs
Mhm.
and a lot of love and a lot of communicating, even if you couldn't speak their language. I will never forget watching people go up and hug each other and didn't speak the same language.
Mhm.
And we all have our preconceived notions. And I laugh at this one because Americans often you hear, oh, if you go to France, like they don't like the Americans, blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. And certainly, so this French lady who could barely speak English and was older than me and was walking it, came up to me. And all she did was hug me and wouldn't let go and whispered in my ear, you're going to be okay. I've been through that. And I love you.
Aw.
Didn't know her. And you just realize, like you do in Uganda, if people could go through something like that, we wouldn't have all the problems we have.
Right. Yeah.
Because those people in there could have been socialists, and
Right.
voted for the prime minister who's very liberal in Spain or not.
Yeah.
They could have been MAGA people which we certainly had from the United States.
Sure.
And we had people from China, a completely different political system,
Yeah.
who were some of the nicest people that we had met. And everybody, none of that mattered when you were going through a loss of some sort
Right.
and trying to find your way. And a lot of what I found most touching, because I've said on our show before, I don't know what people do that don't have God.
Yeah.
Well, now I do.
Mm.
They're looking.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to find him, her, whatever it is, and said so
Yeah.
in these meetings. I don't know if I really believe, but I gotta believe in something because I can't get through this.
Yeah.
And it was so tough.
Mhm.
This particular place that I was at, and I was assured you didn't have to be Catholic, and you didn't, but it was Catholic. It was a monastery, and they're very welcoming, which you don't hear often about
Mm.
Catholics. And in fact, we preached is probably not the right word, but told people this isn't about any faith. This is about your journey and us helping you because
Mhm.
of our faith get there. And we encourage you to come to our service. Now, Catholic masses are typically very long and they are very
Yeah.
ritualistic. N- At least a third of the people, if not more, that came to those services were not faith-based, certainly not Catholic.
Mm.
And the love showed between the people that were Catholic and the people that were Christian and the people that weren't anything didn't matter.
Yeah.
Didn't matter.
Mm.
And the blessing was given to everybody. And it was just touching. So people that don't know, Catholics have the Eucharistic piece of the Mass. Like they believe the body and blood of Christ. And when they give communion, they
Yeah.
won't give communion to anybody that's not Catholic. So you come in a line or a procession and they would say, if you're not Catholic, we won't give you the host, but just put your hand over. That's how I knew. Put your hand like this and we give you a blessing, just like we do when we give you the host. And so these people would come up one after another. No one cared.
Mhm.
Not the priests, not the nuns, and certainly none of the people cared.
Yeah.
There just should be more of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think what I hear from your stories and being able to share in vulnerability is like pain is a universal language. Like, it doesn't matter what your native tongue is. Like, we've all experienced pain and suffering. Um, and I think the beauty of the gospel and why it's compelling for any and all of us is that Jesus stepped into that pain, endured that pain, died, and rose so that we know in the end that he conquers it. And so the comfort and, like, being vulnerable in our pain, I feel like is just a glimpse of heaven,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
a little reprieve of what no more pain and suffering in heaven is going to be like.
It's funny. I at one point realized it wasn't the first several cafes, but again, these people can't communicate. And I never told this story to anybody, but someone tried to talk me out of the first year we had set up the nonprofit. That Peaceful Hugs was a terrible name.
Mm.
you have to change the name. You will not be able to, it won't go anywhere. Here's why, blah, blah. And I sat in that room, and the way everybody communicated at the end was through a hug.
Mm.
Can I give you a hug? Over and over and over. And I thought, if I got anything out of that, it's we're named properly.
Yeah.
The second thing I got out of it was I went there thinking when I left, I was going to have all the answers. And I left not having any of the answers, right? I still don't know where I'm going to live. I still don't know, you know, I still am in pain over my relationship ending. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. But so the answer that he gave me though, this seems odd when I don't know what I'm gonna do at
Sure.
59 years old. And look, I can pay my bills and I'm not complaining, but I thought I was gonna get these pathways. Go out and date immediately. I'm gonna put somebody that you're gonna fall in love with.
Yeah.
This is what's gonna happen with your business. But like he was gonna tell me on this journey what it was. And what I got out of it was be happy with what you have and be at peace.
Mm.
Because all that I've given to you up to this point has been a blessing. Be happy you're here. Live in the moment. Let it happen.
Yeah.
And I really am. And I'm trying hard not to let anything take that away from me because I am at peace.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really have this. I am notorious, for example, of screaming in the car.
Mhm.
Like I've controlled a lot of things in my life and gotten better at it. Driving is not one of them. It's just not. I don't know how to explain
Mm.
this peace
Yeah.
and this non-judgment that it's clarity around. I always say don't judge people, but I literally now, almost instantaneously, if it comes, some judgment pops in my head, I cut it off and go, you don't know that.
Mhm. That's so
And
good.
it's because of this trip.
Yeah.
Because people walk in the door and you think, and I'll use my culture, Germans, I grew up with Germans, staunch, no emotion, very
Blunt.
blah, 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 blah. And they would walk in the door. We had lots of Germans. And you can tell, I could
Yeah.
tell they were German. Staunch, not a lot of small talk. And I know I'm generalizing, but this is what I experienced and what I have lived. And they were they would share their stories like everybody else. They would give
Mhm.
hugs like everybody else. You just can't judge the book by its cover.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
do a bad job of that, I think, in this country.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just easy to, um I feel like it's a self-protection thing is to cast judgment on other people. It's
Yeah.
usually projection anyways too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so life-changing just from meeting so many people from all around the world.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna hit all those countries. I mean, one of the people was from a country, and I I think I'm pretty educated. I'm like, I've never heard of that
Yeah.
country. It was Vanuatu,
Okay.
and, I'm like, I have no idea where that is. I didn't even know that was a country.
Wow.
And you just yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
So, now where my next endeavors are, I don't know. I mean, we were joking before, like, I know I'm going to the Philippines, and, I would like to go to Malawi,
Yeah.
and, so that's where I'll head, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case either. But what I do know is that all of our guests that we have had on, for the most part, have experienced everything you and I have
Yeah.
and have shared with our guests. Is there any one guest in particular that kinda
Gosh.
stood out to you?
I mean, all of them had such good moments, I feel like, but just for the time that it is, the point in time we're in, Pastor Tat and everything going on with,
Yes.
uh, everything in Iran and the Persian refugees that are literally scattered across the world. Like, speaking about, I think it'd be pretty hard pressed to not find a Persian refugee in any, continent because they're all just trying to flee. I think that was really poignant and just nice to, I don't know, hear encouragement from someone that's, living it, breathing it, eating it, sleeping it,
Yep.
and has their whole life and be I don't know, that felt it's hard to say that it felt encouraging because it's so devastating what's going on, but it felt like hopeful conversation
Yes.
around it? Um, and so that was really meaningful. And then I really think that our time with Jillian talking about mental health care is just
Yeah.
really, I always am so grateful for the point in time we're at, especially in America, to at least start to destigmatize the conversation around mental health care. I know that we still have generational divides on what that looks like and how to engage it or if we
Yes, we
should
do.
or not,
Yep.
but like I think it's just beautiful that there is comfort far and away what even 10, 15 years ago was like to openly discuss mental health care. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jillian was a big one, I think, just because um you could probably see it in Uganda. I could see it with all the people that we ran into and then you see it all around here. Like it's just so needed. Whatever it doesn't have to necessarily be a Jillian,
Right.
but somebody to go through to talk through these things.
Mhm.
And so that certainly was a big one. And I think hopefully that touched enough people, particularly older people, particularly men
Yeah,
who don't want to open up um, to get the help they need.
absolutely.
And look, it's happening in younger generation now. It's just
Mhm.
it's really kind of scary
Yeah,
that these kids just life's not precious in some cases because of that phone
right.
and the
Yeah.
bullying that goes on.
Absolutely, and I think I mean, unintentionally, I think the younger generation was kind of an accidental, science project on what it
Uh,
looks like for, society to be impacted by technology in the day-to-day and immediate access to pretty much all information at your fingertips, like, I think, um, we were not prepared as a society how to roll that out well for our communities, regardless of age, but particularly not for the young people, and so it feels like we're having to really figure out how to backtrack to care well for those that we really maimed
yeah,
in the unintentional science
yeah.
project that was the technology boom of the 21st century.
I really like to. It was one of my favorite podcasts. Um, and that was David Farmer from the
Uh,
Fellowship of Christian Athletes because there was so much that was unexpected in that
yeah.
conversation that I got out of it. Um, so much good.
Mhm.
And, how that has snowballed, and we're now seeing it, not partly because of the David Farmer's organizations and organizations like him, but I think just where the world is at, we're now starting to see this revival
Yeah.
of not only I talked about it when I was in Spain with several different clergy people, not just of the Catholic Church. Certainly the Catholic Church, some of it they think is because the Pope is now an American, um, but is seeing huge upticks with young people, and some of the Christian pastors are seeing it too,
Mm.
and they're not sure what to attribute it to, but I think organizations like David and the stuff they were doing through
Mhm.
athletics and other things, is certainly gotta be part of this revival that we're seeing.
Absolutely, and I think it's just really nice when you hear a vision for youth that isn't just like, "Oh, those darn kids, like, you don't know what you don't know what we've been through and you'll learn." Like, it's just nice to hear people who have a really
You
beautiful
mean like
vision
all
to
those
empower
lazy
youth.
people your age? Is that what you're saying? Which we'll talk
It's
about in another
so
podcast.
funny, right? Like, we just love to speaking of passing judgment, we just love to pass and I know every generation does it to the next generation. We label them, we throw rocks at them,
Yep.
think certain things about them, but it is beautiful when children it is incredible what happens when children are believed in.
Oh, I like that's great saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I
Or
think David and organizations like that, that's what they do. They teach kids that they are believed in and loved beyond measure, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and all those organizations, Open Door in Lubbock was another one.
Mhm.
Talking to Pastor Antoine in Detroit, who is not
Yeah.
familiar with Detroit, and all the stuff that that they do in the community. I mean, I mean, all of the guests were,
Yeah.
quite frankly. I encourage people to go, because they're all on the website, to go back and watch those, and um, hopefully we can package them up like we were talking and get them back out,
Mhm.
and out into the community so people can watch them, because they certainly fit different culturally and age-wise. Different people watch different ones.
Absolutely, but I also think it's, like, if you're interested in learning different spheres or hearing from different voices, like, this is a great podcast to, like, you never know what you're gonna learn from it because we have such unique people on,
Yeah.
and we're open to talking about pretty much anything, so
Well, thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for your donations, for watching Peaceful Hugs. Once again, we greatly appreciate it. And we'll get the schedule up on the website that's coming up for the rest of the year. And enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you. God bless.
bye, y'all.